Evening, cheeseheads. Welcome to a World Cup show. 3 games today. Great result for England. Good result for the Dutch. And an okay result for the USA and Wales. Here to go over them with me today. First of all, right next to me, HG. What do you think to that today, mate? Any good?
Yeah, I managed to watch all 3 games. So I'm a bit footballed out, which is crazy considering there's another 60 to go, but yeah, no, it was fun. I had a reason to watch games, which is nice because it wasn't just watching football. It was countries I care about.
Yeah, good stuff. Jack's in the house. How do you feel about that last game, mate?
Well, obviously, tale of two halves. Would have really liked to see him push on, but Wales definitely stepped up in the second, changed tactics, and we're definitely on it for the second half. So I guess it was a fair result, actually.
Yeah, Sam, we'll get into it a bit in a minute. James, Kim Roo kid, what do you think to that then, mate?
I think we should have won, but I'm tired, I'm knackered, and I'm going to go out later. But I'm not. My mood hasn't been ruined. I feel okay. I feel good about it overall. But
I thought it was a good draw for you boys in the end. In the end.
First off, isn't good enough. But
yeah, give the fans something to cheer about. So anyway, I'll tell you where James has obviously got to leave us. So that's where we'll start the USA versus Wales game. Taylor 2 halves, like somebody said. I thought USA were fantastic first half. Jack, I've not watched a lot of the USA, so how did that compare to recent performances or what you were expecting?
Yeah, actually, compared to recent performances, I can tell you right now that was not what we were expecting. Those of us who are pessimists or maybe Spurs fans are always expecting the worst, and they've been really abysmal of late. Their friendlies last month or the month before, whatever, was atrocious. But I will say this is the first time that the squad has been healthy at the same time. You haven't seen Weah, you haven't seen Pulisic, Musa, Adams, and McKinney on the pitch together in maybe over a year. So it was the first time we've actually had everyone available for selection and also played with a lot of intensity. So I'm pleased actually with the effort. They definitely didn't leave anything on the pitch. I was happy with that, but that's not what I expected. I was privately worried that we were going to get taken down pretty badly.
I'm surprised at that. I mean, HG, I'll come to you next. I'll go to James when we talk about Wales. I thought the first half, USA, I was watching them, I thought full of pace, full of energy, trying to knock the ball about quick, trying to play some decent football. I thought, when we come to play them, that could cause us problems. What did you think to the USA?
No, and this is it. And they had a plan. More than anything else, they had a plan and they knew what they were doing. They were quite happy to let Rodon have the ball and ask him to come and bring it out, but they would push high on the other central defenders. And Wales didn't have an answer. First half was much more America were good rather than Wales were bad. And I genuinely thought it was the best performance of the tournament so far. That first 45 minutes as a team, everyone knew their roles. It was balanced. It genuinely was a very, very good performance. And it sounds awful, but I don't understand why they took their foot off the gas after they got the goal, because they did.
Yeah,
it made no sense. They really did. They thought, we've got 10 minutes till half time, and they should have gone for a second there and then, because Wales were completely out of sorts.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they put a lot of energy into that first sort of half hour, didn't they? They really went for it. The fullbacks were flying down the wing. James, obviously, we'll talk about Wales in a minute, because really, first half, not a lot to talk about, is there? That's more second half of Wales. But, what were you expecting from the USA, and what did you gauge from their first half performance?
I think I was kind of expecting something similar, just with much worse passing, because from what I've heard from speaking to some American fans, or generally people from America, they try to play this style, right? This passing style, but their centre-backs, from what I've heard, are kind of what I saw, right, aren't brilliant on the ball. So I thought they were going to kind of struggle, because they've got good midfield players, but I thought they would kind of struggle to build that from the back. But in the first half, they were really good, actually. I'm quite surprised. I think we made them probably look a little bit better than they were a little bit. I don't want to take too much credit away, because I think the first half they were very good and we were quite poor, really. But
it's funny that I said at the start of the day thought that Iran and Wales were the two teams that great individuals, but were much more of a team, and that England and America had lots of really good individuals, but no real idea of a team that functioned. They hadn't really figured that out. And then today you saw two performances that actually the team with the better individuals played really well, and Iran got slaughtered, and Wales did really well to get back into it, because it didn't look like, one goal was all they needed, but it never looked like it was going to happen in that first half. And so it was funny. It was good to see a couple of teams that have a bunch of good players actually play well. And because I don't think we saw that. We certainly didn't see it yesterday. And I don't think the Dutch showed it either. So it was interesting. It's good to see some good teams for a change.
Yeah. Jack, when watching that game, I thought Adams was decent. What do you think it was that sort of USA come flying out the blocks, but what do you think it was? Because they sort of HG said once they sort of went 1-0 up, they took their foot off the gas, and then the second half they couldn't really push on. What do you think happened? Because they got a few bookings, didn't they? It looked like McKennie pulled up a bit at one point, and do you think they just sort of put a lot into it, or do you think that's just the way they play?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the first 30, 40 minutes, as you guys say, they were really, really good, and Wales helped us out by not starting Kiefer Moore, and we had the right lineup, because we have actually a lot of pace at the fullback position. Both Dest and Robinson can really, really move, and it helps make up for the fact that Ream isn't that fast. But Ream's a late introduction to this camp. He only just started coming back in the U.S. fold in the last few months, and that was mostly due to injury at our center backs. We've had several, and his reintroduction, now we actually have somebody who can play the ball out of the back, because his partner Walker Zimmerman is just an old school defender, which he proved against Gareth Bale. Unfortunately. And so Dest didn't go much into attack as much as Anthony did, and that really helped negate speed on the counter on James. And so that setup really helped us out a lot. But once they did get the goal, they did clearly, the press dropped. The line wasn't as high, the press wasn't there. And I don't know if they just ran out of gas because they went so hard, so fast, and eventually the adrenaline bleeds out of you a little bit, and they took the foot off the pedal, as you said. But it's a shame, because I think there was a goal in there for them. And at halftime, the American commentators, which are mostly former players, all of them are actually former players who played in some of the best teams that we've had, were just egging them on, saying, please come out like you did in the second half. Do not sit back. Do not give them a chance to get a photo. Get the second goal and kill the game. And of course they didn't. So
yeah, HG, the goal was coming for the States, wasn't it? When it scored, in our little group, we said that was coming, and it was a good run by Pulisic, nice ball for a decent finish by Weah to get on the end of it.
Yeah, again, there's been a few quality goals already, and that was one of them. Which is the way they break at pace. Not only do they, because they spent most of the first half trying to press high, and actually that goal came from a period of defending, and they were able to hit on the break. But we know Pulisic has the quality. He just needs to find runners. And Sargent isn't a great striker, but he's willing to make those runs. And Weah coming in from the run is also, clearly very good. There was I think a cross early on when Rodent almost scored an own goal, and Weah took the ball in the air with his right foot, hit his left knee, and then hit it first time across. That kind of skill you'd expect to see from a Brazilian, not from an American. And it really felt in the first half, especially, America were just technically better. In every aspect of the game, they were much better, and I guess credit to them, because if they play like that in the next two games, that they should maybe go through.
Yeah, Weah was a problem for Wales, particularly in the first half. There were balls over the top that he was getting on the end of over and over and over again, and so I knew he came out late because he probably needed a rest, but I knew once he came out, we just probably didn't have a chance of scoring it, because as the subs kept rolling in the second half, I was like, those are not game changers. They're just trying to manage the game at this point, unfortunately. But yeah, he had a really excellent game, and I actually predicted him to score. I was really pleased because he played very well.
It felt as if Pulisic and Weah were playing more on the centre backs than they were on the full backs. So Connor Roberts and Williams had a fair amount of time on the ball, but because the full backs were pushing up, they had nowhere to go with the ball. They had to go back towards Roden, towards Mepham. And so it just felt as if America put all the pressure on and said to Wales, right, if you can play around us, go ahead. But Wales weren't good enough to do it. And Ramsey was struggling, Ampadu was struggling. They were trying to, Ramsey's gift is going fully. Bale never barely touched the ball. I mean, Bale, let's be fair. Bale doesn't want to do any of the donkey work. Right? He wants to be set up 25 yards from goal so he can get the glory, and we know he's good enough to do it. But that first half, it felt like an organised team versus, like kind of a puncher's chance.
Although the yellow card he got was tracking back with purpose and intent for certain.
Yeah, I think when he loses the ball, Bale clearly cares, right? Yes. But he knows, everyone knows that the other 10 players are almost there to basically serve him, right?
Yeah.
So it's not as if he's lazy and he doesn't want them to do well. But you know that if you said like to me, like Dan James played centre forward in the first half, he's not a centre forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're going to have Wilson, James, and Bale, to me, like you play Wilson maybe as a false 9 to come back and allow the wingers to go forward, or you put Bale up top. But to put Dan James there, like his pace is no real threat when he's got his back to goal. I almost felt sorry for Dan James because he got hooked at half time and it wasn't his fault. Yeah. It was just the manager deciding and realizing, actually, I need a proper striker now. I can't go with a very fast winger. Why would you put him with your back to goal?
Page did us a favor, as I said. That lineup and tactics played into our strengths.
Yeah. So James, obviously, apart from the obvious, not starting Big Kiefer Moore up front, how do you think? What do you think was wrong with Wales? Do you think it was that setup? Do you think Page just thought too much about it, or and tried something different? What do you think was the problem?
I mean, the most obvious thing, of course, like you said, is Moore, because he holds the ball up, right? You need that in a game like that. Also, he's an aerial threat, right? Which, when we were trying to go long in the first half, we just had nothing. Whereas if you have Moore, he wins one of those headers, right? Secondly, I think Ramsey did okay. I think Ampadu did it pretty well, actually. I mean, he gave a lot. I think we just weren't pressing enough. Because I think as soon as you went in the second half, as soon as we actually started pushing forward and pressing, we started winning the ball in dangerous areas. And I just think, well, you press players like Zimmerman, they're going to give the ball away, aren't they, right?
Yeah. Do you think against America, against USA, when you play them, sort of like when England play them, that's when you started doing that and balls started dropping and you started winning the second balls, you've got to take it to... From what I got from watching it was like they like to play little 1-2s and try and knock it, but they don't have the real top technical ability to do that. So if you do sort of press them up high and when they break, they've got pace and stuff, but they try and do that and it doesn't come off, you're obviously far more advanced at the pitch and you can, opportunities come more. And I think you've sort of got to let the game sort of flow to get a bit more backwards and forwards against the States. Do you reckon that's somewhere near, or do you think it's a load of bollocks, James?
Yeah, I think you definitely have to press them. I think if England press them high, they'll win fairly comfortably. But I think if England try to sit back against them, right, then I think the States will have a good chance to get a result against them. That's the reality of the situation, because they do have quality when they have the ball, right? But I think their back line is not good enough on the ball to play that kind of style. So if you press them high, they will struggle. But then, of course, the argument is, well, they do have some very quick players. And Harry Maguire plays for England. So
I don't know if he'll be playing.
There you go.
USA. Well, they'll bring the speed merchant Eric Dyer in to take his place.
That has always been the criticism is Greg Berhalter wants to play. He needs center backs who are comfortable with the ball to start the play. And none of the center backs in the system play that at their clubs. And so then you've got to force Tyler Adams coming to get the ball, who also doesn't do that really as well as you want him to. So it forces you bring someone even further back in Musa, who can break a line, who can play, but now you're bringing the team further and further back. And that's the problem. And you're right. You want the center backs to have the ball. You want to press the U.S. high. The only chance the U.S. has against England is one, they're just off it. Gareth Southgate does something totally, nutty. Or we are lucky enough on some breaks, because unlike every other American team I have grown up with, where we're strong at, goalkeeper, top notch since I was a little kid, all the way back to Tony Miola and Friedel, and then Tim Howard. I mean, we've had a string of top class and of goalkeepers. Then we've got center backs who are just big, mean, and ugly, who you just don't want to get too close to. And then we always have a few nice, talented players, whether it be a Tab Ramos or Claudio Reyna or a Landon Donovan or Clint Dempsey, a few skillful players who got them a chance, they could put it in, right? This team's completely different. We're loaded with attacking players, very weak in defense, and our goalkeeper. I mean, we don't have a goal. I mean, Zach Steffen was supposed to be the next great goalkeeper, and he's not even with the team. So it's a reverse of everything I grew up with. It's very weird.
I mean, HG, I think Jack's doing a little bit of a disservice there, because I think they will causing. I don't think it will just be if England, if USA will only win if England are lucky or get a break. I think there's parts to I watch the USA's game, and if England don't take that seriously and try and do something ridiculous, the USA have the tools to beat us.
Like, England USA will be like Spurs Leeds last week.
Yeah.
Right? Where really Spurs have the better players, but Leeds scored 3 and were good value for those 3. And America could do the same. Like, it's weird. I know we're kind of conflating 2 games here, but the Welsh play with the back 3 and England usually play with the back 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that the best way to play this American team is basically go head to head and go with the 4-3-3. I know Wales only did it for the last 10 minutes or so.
Yes.
But strictly speaking, you need to win the midfield battle with America. If you do, then the front 3 that can hurt you won't get the ball. Right?
Yeah.
And McKennie being half out clearly helped the second half for Wales. But I just think that with England, if we went to our pragmatic back 3, then good teams like the States are will hurt you. They'll be able to hurt you. If we decide, right, we're going to go 4-3-3, we're going to match up all over the pitch, Bellingham is better than anyone that they have.
Yes.
Right? So you'd expect Bellingham. And that's not to say that, Adams is not a bad player. McKennie's clearly, none of them are bad players, but Bellingham is world class at 19. Yeah. You want him to take those battles on because you expect him to win those shit. And so it will be interesting to see what Southgate does, because usual Southgate is play a decent side and defend. That's what Wales did to qualify. And it felt like today, maybe England and Wales both realised if we want to get out of this group, we have to play attacking football.
Yeah, they changed. Yeah. And Wales were on the second ball so much more in the second half. I mean, I wrote that down several times. How many second balls they won in the second half versus the first half seemed to be a big difference. And of course, let's say a hold-up play and an aerial threat that they had to respect.
I think that's what we'll do. I think we'll have to do that. And I think the reason, and I'm saying that because that's what I tried to say earlier, Jack. I think America, the USA, tried to sort of play it around in midfield, but I think just a few times too often they don't have the quality, and that one little pass they try to do breaks down and then you're away. Do you get what I mean? They're trying to do the right things, little one touches and play runners in, but it doesn't always come off for them, does it? And that's when you'll get, like, England will get the chance to break with better quality players than Wales have. But I mean, James, I'll come to you now. Second half, mate, loads better from Wales, wasn't it? They sort of decided to get their ass into gear, brought big Kiefer Moore on up front and changed the game.
Do you know what? I thought I was watching Spurs for a second, because it was almost like we couldn't be bothered in the first half, and then we just suddenly became prime Spain in the second half. It was really weird. I don't know if Antonio Conte's been in the Wales camp or something. It's really bizarre. It's Ben Davies been slipping some advice to everyone. It's like, right, guys, Antonio, he said do this. Very weird. No, second half so much better. Kiefer Moore, instant impact. You just see him. He's a big bloke. He just holds the ball up, right? And some of his link-up play was really excellent. I mean, he's not a world beater, but he's a big fucking guy, right? And he wins the ball, and he's quite strong. Exactly what you need in a game like that. He's kind of got that Llorente effect, but a bit better, I think, at link-up play, and not quite as slow. So much better. We were pressing, we were going for the ball, we were winning second balls. That's the Wales that I'm used to seeing. Just so much better. It's the second half, I think, just, night and day. The States were starting to struggle a bit. And I think, if we started the game like that, you just think, well, we could have won. We didn't have the odd moment defensively, but I think it was dealt with fairly well in the second half.
Yeah.
So
I agree, mate. As a States fan, Jack, do you think that goal was coming, or did you think you'd be able to hold on, or do you just think, we don't withstand pressure very well?
Well, I mean, I was surprised Moore missed the header on the corner, because that's what I said. If anything, just don't concede corners, don't concede free kicks. You just win the ball, kick it for a throw in. I don't care. I didn't feel, even in the second half, I didn't feel it was coming. I mean, I was prepared for it, but I didn't feel like they were dominating. And realistically, if Zimmerman doesn't try that tackle, which he had no there's no reason back to goal, 12 yards out off the side. There's no reason to even make the challenge. I'm not sure. I'm sure Wales finds the equalizer without that penalty. I just didn't see the combinations. It would have been a bounce. It would have been a couple of times where the ball gets launched in, it hits 3 or 4 players, and it gets in the back of the net. But not from a sequence of play that I feel like the defense was going to break.
HG, I mean, we said, didn't we, like Wales were doggo first half. Could you believe the turnaround, or did you think they could literally turn it around with just that easily by chucking Kiefer Moore on?
I thought they'd have to do more than just do that, to be honest. I thought they'd have to maybe go forward at the back because I thought they were losing it in midfield. It surprised me that just having a big lug up front was able to do what it did. Credit to him for making that change and for being that change, because Kiefer Moore, we all know what you're going to get from him. And I don't feel like he was bullying the defenders. He gave them more to do. And it stuck 30% more than it did. But that 30% meant that Wales were able to go up the pitch. And clearly at some point, I think when McKennie went off, it was clear from that point that USA were like, okay, we're hanging on here. Because they're a very good midfield when he, but that America made, I felt like were pretty good comparisons. There wasn't a massive difference going from McKennie to, I guess it was Acosta who took his place. Acosta's not a bad player, but he's not McKennie, and it felt like that was a massive deal. So, when America are hanging on a little bit and Wales are throwing people forward, that they're going to get some kind of chance. The chance from the corner was before that. Probably should have scored, but it just little things. The chance I think that Kerry refers to about Ben Davies, again, that came from nothing really. But if Ben Davies puts it, 2 yards either side, it's a goal. So it just felt like those little things that were probably going America's way in the first 45 minutes went Wales' way in the second. But only getting 1 goal hurt the States more than anything else. Because I genuinely think the States are a better side, but they didn't make the advantage count, and it meant that Wales, when you're only 1 goal out of it, anything can happen.
Yeah, Wales had something to fight for, didn't they? So in the end, the game finishes 1-1. We had that moment right at the end where the keeper runs out and Bale was going to strike it, and Acosta takes him out and gets a yellow. But who do you think will be the happier with that point, Jack? Do you think the States will be? Do you think Wales will be the happier, or do you think they're both? That's a decent result for both.
I think they anytime you concede in the 82nd in a World Cup game and you only had 3 points, then you're not the happier squad. The team that equals and gets the point out of it is the happier squad. I mean, it's the way it goes. They both are exact same position as each other. But as far as the mood in the locker room, I just hope that the U.S. team's pissed. I just hope that they're frustrated and they're irritated, and they come out with the same sort of fight. And because one thing that I want to remind everyone is that England's never beaten the U.S. in the World Cup. So as a result, what is it, 2? I hope they come out with a fight. And I we've called for Berhalter, because of the weakness at center back, to play a back 3. He has no intention of doing it, but I think if you were going to, that would be sit deep, play a low block, and hope you get them on the counter. Because I don't think that, to your point, you don't match up in midfield. Even though we do have talented midfield players, we don't match up. The best matchup is our front line against your back line. That's the best matchup. Well, that is the question.
We'll come on to that a little bit more after we spoke about the England game, Jack. We'll go on to how we think both teams will set up and what we're going to do. So, James, to you. So, obviously, bad first half for Wales, good second half. So, I'll take it now then. Jack, do you think, games 1-1, you've got a point from a bad first half performance? Wales the happiest squad?
Probably. I mean, I think we're happy to be there. So, that's something, right? It's been 58 years, 64 years, right? It's been a very long time. It's been, I think, my grandparents.
Didn't Pele score against you last time you were in it?
Yeah, my grandparents were like children, right? They were younger than I am now, right? And they're not. I apologize to them. They're not youngins at the moment. So I'm frustrated. But the second half, we play like that in our other 2 games, like we played in the second half. I think we can beat Iran. What I'll say is, for England, then
what I'll say is that I enjoyed that game. Ecuador Qatar yesterday was absolute toilet. So at least, not at least, you had 2 good teams. like I said, two decent teams having a go at each other in the end. Game of two halves, but at least it was a decent watch. I mean, that last night was absolutely.
And both teams knew how vital the game was.
Yeah,
that's why, right? And it's weird. You talk about which team likes the result the most. England are pretty happy with the result. Iran are pretty happy with it as well. But of the two teams, I think the Welsh will be happiest because, I'm kind of thinking along here. If England do get their first win against America, which I don't know, right? If they do, and the Welsh beat Iran, you have a situation where a draw will put both teams through. And there's nothing the Americans can do about it.
And I don't
want that to be the case.
11 players, and he can
play a nice 1-1 draw. England have the goal difference, so England will probably finish top with a draw. And the Welsh would like you don't want to see that. I don't really want to see that.
No, we don't.
I want to see a game where Wales need to win because that just
and then
it
we
makes for a better spectacle. Well, and then we obviously.
So that suits Page and Southgate very nicely. So
one thing I'll say about that is obviously people have been giving you a bit of stick in the group, James, saying it'd be a dead rubber and stuff like that. One thing I'll say is, and obviously we'll come on to this more in the England game, if we do have to switch players, I don't think that's going to affect England a lot. I think players like Grealish, Foden, Rashford, who come on today, who did well, we didn't lose anything by bringing those players on today. That's not going to make it any easier for Wales if we do rotate in an attacking sense and probably at the back as well, because there's not really many of our defenders that are far superior to the other one. So, look, I think hopefully, we'll have qualified by the time we play the Welsh. But I think it's going to be a decent group. I don't know if Iran can actually play that bad again. Surely not, but we'll see. So I think what we'll do is we'll make this show a bit of a shit sandwich. So now we'll talk about Senegal, Holland.
I've got shit off now.
You going now, James?
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Enjoy your evening, mate.
Will do.
Yeah, take it easy.
See you later.
Ta-da, mate.
Come on, Conroy. Oh, my.
Come on, Kimru kid. There's the Kimru kid gone. We can give Wales some stick now he's gone. But so I'll come to HG first. Did you manage to watch that game without falling asleep, the Senegal-Holland one? Or did you have 40 winks?
I napped for about 15 minutes in the second half.
Yeah.
I woke up, it was 1-0. Like the Dutch aren't a great side. Senegal aren't a great side. The first half was pretty even. Like I felt like both sides had a decent chance or two, but nothing crazy. Second half, when I did watch the rest of the game, Senegal, I think, had a couple of 2 or 3 good chances or like decent saves, but not great chances to take the lead. But yeah, I mean, I lived in Holland for 2.5 years. Right? Like I love Dutch football. I watch the World Cup on Dutch TV because I genuinely prefer their coverage. But it wasn't a great game because like neither side really have a striker, and it matters so much.
Well, Holland did have Vincent Janssen up front. Jack, did you manage to watch the Senegal-Holland game? Did you manage to get any highlights? Or
no, I had it on. I work from home most days, and I had it on behind me as I was having to do some work because I watched the England game. I was going to watch the U.S. game, so I knew I'd actually squeeze in some actual real work.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean, it was clearly when you just can listen to the commentators, and you're not turning around to see what was happening. It's it wasn't a great watch. I mean, it surprised me. I don't know if it's that whether it's the Dutch players or it's Van Gaal, but they don't seem to play Dutch football.
No, they don't. That is really Van Gaal, like the traditional old school kind of 4-3-3 with the flying wingers and the number 10 just behind the main striker. Van Gaal's never done that for Holland. No. And so I think they all knew that when he came back to be the manager and he switched to a back 3 again, like I think the players were not happy to begin with. And they've kind of realized, okay, it's not really fire, it's more 3-5-2. He wants to get the wing backs going forward. I don't necessarily believe that, but yeah, it's not traditional Dutch. And Van Gaal has never. If you think traditional Dutch is Cruyff, Van Gaal, like not only does he not like Cruyff, but he sees himself as some kind of intellectual, like comparative to Cruyff. He doesn't understand why the world loves Cruyff and doesn't really think so much of him. Something like that, yeah. And so
Yeah.
the press conferences are incredible, and the interviews are incredible because Van Gaal does not give a s. Like he just says exactly. Like he'll make fun of the questions, he'll make fun of the people who are like asking him stuff because it's like, well, surely I would know because it's really fun. But the Dutch side, like I felt today, they basically played 5 defenders, 1 midfielder, and 4 attackers, and hoped, right?
Yeah.
And they got out of jail. They made a few subs and brought on Cope Miners, who I think is a good player.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave them more balance. But if he continues with with basically De Jong as the only midfielder, I think they will struggle. And when I looked at we've seen Group A and Group B now. Like when those 2 groups play each other in the next round, I expect Group B to win both games.
Yeah,
I really do.
Well,
because the Dutch are just they're not great.
Yeah.
Just something on Van Gaal, and you'll know more about this than me, HG. But I was listening to a radio report yesterday, and they were talking about Van Gaal. I think it was either a podcast. Anyway, they were talking about Van Gaal, and they said it's strange because when he was at Ajax and in like those sorts of days, he did play attacking football. He sort of played 4-3-3, and he invented this new style of pressing and blah blah blah. And he was really expansive. Yet when he's managed the national team, he sort of decided to sort of like stink the joint out. Is that?
That's right. I mean, because that Ajax side that won the Champions League under him, with Kluivert at like 18, 19. That was a traditional, let's say, Dutch football. That was the kind of, but yeah, now like he actually said in the pre-match interview today when the guy was talking to him and obviously asking him questions he didn't like, Demena said, "I am an attacking manager, so of course I'm going to play strikers." Because I've got Janssen and I've got Gakpo and I've got Bergwijn. Like but that's a relatively attacking side. It's just that when the rest of the team are defenders and you've got a centre back playing wing back because there's literally no one else you trust, it feels a bit odd because it is not the Dutch that you grew up loving. But the Dutch made a big thing today. This was their first World Cup finals game in 8 years because they didn't qualify for Russia.
That's true.
So and when you think they got to the final in 2010, maybe the semi-finals in 2014 with Van Gaal, like to not be there 4 years ago was a massive disappointment. And so now, like, it is kind of
a big thing.
He feels as if you can't question him.
No, I mean, I know Jack, one man doesn't make a team, but Mane being out for Senegal hurts them, doesn't it? Massively.
Yeah, there's no way you recover. Yeah. I mean, especially when it was so late, it's not like they had time to prepare and think about it and regroup mentally. But basically, just days before the tournament, you lose clearly your most important player, who probably if anyone's going to put fear into that back line, it's going to be Mane. So it's a big miss. And I'm sorry I don't have anything negative to say about Mane. I think sounds like a really good guy. Yeah. He does amazing things back in his home country. So it's sad to have him not the tournament. Yeah.
It's HG Senegal. Your thoughts on Senegal? Missed Mane, and then really didn't really have a lot else, did they? To be fair, like I think their starting midfield was it Cheick Kouyaté, Idrissa Gueye, and who was the other?
Nampalys Mendy.
Yeah, and he's from Leicester. Yeah, when they said that, I thought that's just a lot of graft in there, isn't it, in that midfield?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. You've said my point, right? You've got 3 defensive midfielders. Obviously Koulibaly at the back is a decent player. Yeah. But you looked at that front 3. You've got the guy who's on loan in kind of a lower table Italian side. Yeah. I think a guy at Monaco, and then the guy at Watford, so Championship.
Yeah. I think he's decent though.
No, they're all good players.
Yeah, he's a good player.
But it just doesn't, like, you don't look at that and worry, especially when I don't rate De Ligt at all. Mm-hmm. Like we talk about, like when Maguire went off and everyone was like, "Oh, well, Maguire's off, it'll be better," and I'm like, you do realize like Eric Dyer is like the southern version of Harry Maguire. There's not much difference really between the two of them. Yeah. And then I look at De Ligt, and he's the Dutch Harry Maguire. Like I don't get the hype with De Ligt at all. Like if he's allowed to be at the best team in the league, he'll look like a superstar. But if you attack him, he's ropey. He is absolutely ropey, and he doesn't suit a back 3. No. And so, like, Ake is suited over at left centre back. Van Dijk, we know how good he can be, but they're a bit awkward. And so it does feel like if a team goes at the Dutch, then you may well get chances. Yeah. And obviously, they're in a relatively simple group. But when the Dutch play Ecuador, which I guess is the big game now in that group, we'll see kind of what we get, because I'm not convinced by them at all. Like I know Memphis only played the last half
Yeah.
hour today, and he's usually a starter. And I do think that they have an ability to change their team for the better. Like I don't think this is their best team, but if they continue to play that 11, I think they'll struggle. And I love the Dutch. I love Dutch football. I love their mentality. And when I lived there for so long, like part of me still wants to feel a little Dutch because I genuinely like the type of people they are. But I don't think their side is really that good right now.
No, but I mean, obviously they ended up, even though you're saying they're not that great, they ended up winning the game 2-0. The Gakpo goal was a decent header, wasn't it? Brave. He sort of great run, perfect timing, decent ball from De Jong. He's just got a flick on it, and that was it. Then you sort of thought game over at that point, didn't you, Jack?
Yeah.
Once it went 1-0.
Yeah, I mean there wasn't enough on the other side to you think they were gonna get it back. I mean, fluky things happen. Bad challenge in the box, bouncing ball type of thing. But no, there didn't seem any evidence. I was paying attention at that point and watched it through stoppage, and it just didn't. You could just tell there wasn't anything there.
Yeah, I sort of watched it, HG, and I was thinking both of these are happy if it's a draw now because I think they probably both thought that they're better than the other two, even though Ecuador, it's hard to judge, a bit like because Qatar was so rubbish. But, then they score the second in the 98th minute. And did you think overall deserved to win it, or did you think, it's hard to say, isn't it, that they really deserved to win? It was just like they did win.
I think it was individual quality in the end.
Yeah.
Like if you give De Jong time to cross a ball in, Gakpo's going to make the run. That's smart football. Like we see that goal a number of times every season.
Yeah.
The keeper comes for it, doesn't get there. You get there first, you score. Right? If the keeper stays on his line, it's a bit more difficult. But you see that quite often. And so you're right. When that one went in, you were like, okay, this is kind of going to go there. And Klaassen, the second. Klaassen just has an ability to score goals. He's the type of player that doesn't do anything else, but he'll get you vital goals. So I do, with the Dutch, it feels like if they can really find a better balance, because I don't think they played Gakpo kind of behind the front two, and I don't really think that's his best position. But again, like he usually plays off the left for PSV. That's where Bergwijn wants to play, kind of, and Bergwijn and Depay are pretty set as a front two. When they get their best team going, that will be their front two. So it does feel a bit like maybe they'd be better off with Weghorst and one of Depay and Bergwijn, or maybe they'd be better off having like Depay be the main guy and have Gakpo on one side and someone else. Like Berghaus started the game. I don't rate Berghaus at all. It felt like
where's he play?
He's usually kind of like a Mahrez type or a Bernardo Silva type, where he's left-footed but he likes to cut in off the right. But they played him in midfield because it was De Jong plus a couple of others. And to me, I just don't think he's that good. Like he's played for a lot of teams in Holland. I think he may have left Holland maybe once to play in England, but didn't succeed. He left Feyenoord to play for Ajax, which is pretty like you don't do that. Even on a free, you just don't do that. So he's got a load of confidence in himself. I just think that Coke Miners, for example, is a better player and would suit them more.
Sol Campbell's.
In Holland, that is exactly what happened. It's a Sol Campbell transfer. So,
Jack, like watching those games, did you see Ecuador Qatar yesterday?
Yeah.
So if the States are to get through this group, do you think, like HG said, do you think, if we get through this group, we can progress to the quarterfinals? Do the Dutch or the Senegalese or the Ecuadorians or the Qatarians hold any? They put the fear of God in you, or do you think fancy our chances?
I think the team that I would maybe, I don't know, it's hard to say, but Ecuador is one of those teams that's very challenging to play because all of them are very technically. They're all very quick. They're all very good. They're all very comfortable on the ball. They are organized, and getting through South American qualifying is not easy, as you know. And so they're a good side. I mean, I expect them to come out. I wouldn't necessarily want to play them because of their athleticism, their speed. I think I'd rather play the
Qatar.
So if the U.S. gets out, then playing the Dutch is probably the more likely. And I'm actually fine with that.
That's good.
Be fine with that.
That's good.
When you look at the groups, because like A, B, C, and D are kind of linked for the quarterfinal stage. So if it went on seeding, you'd have Holland versus Argentina in one, and England versus France in another. I mean, they look like incredible games that like every football fan would want to see it. But yeah, like there's always going to be one or two teams that break through. Maybe Denmark win the group against France, and then it becomes England versus Denmark in the quarters. Like you just don't know, and it sounds awful. What are we doing talking about the quarters? Right, we've had one game. Yeah, you can't help but think about it, right? You can't.
It's coming home, mate.
It's coming home. No. I just like the fact that we won by 4, England won by 4 today means, to me, the only way they don't make the last 16 is if they lose both games.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. A draw in either one of them may well be enough to at least finish second. But yeah, it's fun. Like, today was fun. Like the Senegal and Holland game was not great. But watching England score for fun was unexpected. Yeah. And the American Wales game felt like a proper
game of football. Yeah, that was a good game of football. So on to today's main event then. And I've got to be honest, I was expecting a 1-0 Harry Kane penalty stinkfest if we were going to win. I've been led to believe by the media, the radio in the last couple of days that Iran are a really good side, and that they'll be extremely hard to break down and dangerous on the break. And pardon my French, but they were fucking awful. They were absolutely useless. So, Jack, obviously, did you watch the England game?
I watched every bit of it.
What were your thoughts on, when you saw the England team? What were you think? Do you think, I can't believe he's changed it? Or did you think that looks shit? What do you think?
I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about what Gareth would do, but when I pulled it up and said, oh, well, he's gone 4-3-3, he's putting on some players to try and get at Iran. That's the right decision. There's no reason you should not be. You're better than they are at every single position on the pitch. You should be matching up and going at them. So I was glad to see it. And then pretty much from the whistle, it was not even remotely in question. I mean, I know that we sat there for 50 minutes, an unfortunate injury to their keeper, which, is arguably their best player and their most kind of the heartbeat of that team, which I don't know how much that took out of them, but it was not competitive from the get-go. And England looked so calm, so assured. I was just really surprised. And again, watching Harry not get out of second gear, I was just saying, get him off the pitch, get him off the pitch, get him off the pitch. And I really think you should rest him Friday. I don't think that it's really, you shouldn't risk him for that quarterfinal match. I don't think you should risk him. So
I said, get him off the pitch in the first half. I was saying that in our WhatsApp group. I was like, get him off. Don't need him on there anymore. Rest him. But HG, what were your thoughts with the England team? Was that what you were expecting, or were you expecting Gareth to go with his 3 at the back?
Yeah, I did. I mean, I think England fans have been crying out for 4 at the back for a while. We all understood why he went 3 at the back in 2018. Yeah. But now we've got some very, very good attacking players. Like, it's not Loftus-Cheek and Lingard. You're looking at Bellingham and Foden and Mount. Like, we've got some great players. So I genuinely was surprised. I was also really annoyed at the England Twitter account because they put Bellingham's name up there and spelt it wrong. It just
imbeciles.
The English teacher in me is like, are you kidding? Like, really? You've got one job, Mr. Meme writer, Mr. whatever you are. But yeah, 4-3-3. I was excited to see what was going to happen because it felt as if, Maguire and Stones, nobody thinks they're great centre backs. I mean, Stones is probably better than we give him credit for. Yeah. But playing for Man City, you never get to see him defend anymore. Right. So it felt like it was not just a solid side, a very good side. Maybe Foden was a little bit unlucky not to play over Mount, but we know that Southgate loves Mount, and Mount played really well, I thought. So
Maguire was actually looked really good.
I'm just gonna
go on.
When HG, sorry HG, because I'm gonna say Maguire, he has been absolutely stinking for Man U for a while. He's been really, really poor. Southgate loves him, so I knew he was going to play. But when he's playing with a little bit of confidence and playing his normal game, I don't think he's that bad. I think he needs to get away from Man United. I think he needs to start again and get a new challenge. And this is going to be one I'll probably get some pouters from Spurs fans. But when he's playing to his sort of full potential, he's better than Eric Dyer. All day long for me. Better in the air, just as quick. He's just as quick as Dyer. And
Or
I
Justin
think
Slow, which is it?
yeah, well, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, and I actually think he's half decent on the ball. I mean, he looked a bit ropey on it today, but he's confident. You know, when he was in the Russia
His
World
head
Cup,
is bigger than Dyer's.
yeah, his head's much bigger. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. But
it feels like footballers, especially defenders, right now, you're either an old school defender, right, who just head everything away and kick everything away and you're good, or you are kind of one of those footballing defenders who's great on the ball, can make good decisions, and yet if you put them under pressure defensively, they start to struggle. There don't appear to be too many that can do both anymore.
No.
I mean, it's weird to think like that. Maguire, as you said, like if you don't press Maguire, and he's got all day to find. He's played with Luke Shaw for 3 years. You can find him easily. Like then it's great. But if you put them under pressure, and when you play good teams, England will be under pressure.
Put you under pressure. Yeah.
Then you start to worry. But yeah, against Iran, like had we gone 3 at the back, I'd have been apoplectic.
Yeah.
There's just no need. Like everyone has now looked at that and thought there's no need. And when we did our preview show on Friday about the group, everyone said they sit back and defend deeply. They want to hit you on the counter-attack. If they can at all, that's what they're going to do. And so it made sense, full sense for England to do what they did. Having said that, I was still surprised at how well they did it. I mean, genuinely, the clash of heads is one of those moments where you're just like, I'm happy I watched that, but oh my God, that really must have hurt.
What wound me up, HG, was the captain was like, basically, I reckon he went up to him and went, "You're all right, ain't you, mate? I reckon you can carry on, can't you? We need you." It felt like he was doing that, wasn't he? And this bloke's like stood there going, "Yeah, I think I'll be all right. I think I'll be all right." Yeah. Blood dripping down his nose. And
at that point, you need independent people.
Yeah.
Right? You genuinely do. And like, again, because it's this, I don't know what the substitution rules are with concussions, because I think when he went off, it was a concussion substitute.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm not sure it would have counted to be one of their 5, right? So it's it's sad for the guy, because if he has been concussed, he'll probably not play in the next 2, and that's it. You'll have a 15-minute World Cup, and no one wants that.
Yeah,
chucked water at him.
Yeah, okay, he did. He chucked his little bottle of water. Come on, mate, wake up! Fucking unreal. I couldn't believe that. But Jack, so we started off like you said. England started off on the front foot. I love to see that. I want to see my teams play on the front foot. Jude Bellingham was fantastic, wasn't he? I mean, he scored the first goal, but up to that point, he was everywhere, energetic, getting on the ball, sort of getting back, getting up and down. You know, we've been used to seeing Phillips, and I think Phillips is a decent player in isolation, maybe. Bellingham. But, you know, Jude Bellingham in there with Rice, just so dynamic, getting into different areas. And then he pops up with a great header. What did you think of his performance today?
Yeah, that's actually the first long look, because I don't watch German football.
No,
so that's my first real long look at him, and so it's hard to judge on a single outing. But you know, the way with Rice sitting deep, protecting your center backs, giving him the freedom to get anywhere he wants to on the pitch, because you don't have to worry about too much. You're right. He had the freedom to go wherever he wanted, wherever the ball was. He wins it back. He's technical on the ball. He doesn't lose possession. He picked the pass. He gets. Good Lord, I didn't realize how big he was. I honestly didn't until I saw him standing against some of the other people. I didn't realize how tall he was. And of course, on that header, I mean, he was like Ronaldo almost. I mean, he just leapt up out of the air and just put it in. It was gorgeous. I was really impressed, and not looking forward to playing Friday.
HG, I bet you can wax lyrical about Bellingham, can't you?
I feel like every now and again you get a player who goes on a football pitch and it's like, this is my domain, right? Like I was born to play football at the highest level. I'm not fazed by anything. I will just go out there and do my thing. And I've seen other England players do it over, but not everyone does it all the time. I've seen Declan Rice do that for West Ham, weirdly enough, where he's the best player on the pitch. He knows it and he plays like it. And maybe for England, he doesn't need to, so he doesn't do that as much. But I think Bellingham at 19, I mean, it is insane how good he is. He's the best midfielder since Gerrard. It's not even close. The goal he scored today was similar to the header that Gerrard got in the Champions League final for Liverpool. I just felt as if like he makes runs into the box at exactly the right moment. He gets back and defends, and he's always in the right place. I don't know how you can't teach it. Right?
No, right. You have to be able to read the game. You have to be in innate, exactly, feeling. And he's first time I saw something flash. Was it the first non-PL player, never to play in the Premier League to start for England in the World Cup since Owen.
Hargreaves, probably. Hargreaves.
Wow.
Yeah, it must have been. But I mean, yeah, I thought he was really good. And hopefully, I know we were only playing against Iran, but those sorts of players, you don't want to do the old Southgate tactics of just trying to sort of play the game and pass it backwards. And so you want players like that expressing themselves, don't you, HG? You want him getting about the pitch and being able to link up with the forwards, because you know he can get back and help do his duties with helping out the defence. You just got to sort of let him play his game, haven't you? Those sorts of players.
Like, it's interesting that, we talked about Mason Mount. Mason Mount got a lot of stick in the Euros last year.
Yeah.
Because even though he was one of the front three, if he wasn't doing something, he was a passenger completely. But it felt like today, like, we played a midfield three. Like, I don't think Mason Mount was asked to go forward because you had Sterling, you had Saka and Kane. So he could be a bit deeper. But what that meant was he was there and he was able to help out Luke Shaw more. So the first goal came from a Luke Shaw cross, right? It came down that left-hand side. Like, I just think it suits everyone that, like, even if you did want to go with a back three, you could, in theory, just say to Declan Rice, right, back you come. You can be like the old school sweeper, that third, because Bellingham and Mount, although you'd have worries about that central midfield pairing, they're both capable of doing a bit of everything, right? Which is kind of what you need. In that, like, you see it, we see it with Bentancur and Højbjerg. Like, if they can move the ball forward, then they can do that job for Spurs. Spurs' issue is that we haven't been able to get it forward, so we needed that third midfielder. Yeah. But if England can do that, like I don't. Everyone knows my feelings on Sterling. I don't particularly rate him, but that system suited him much more because he wasn't playing as a central striker. He was out on his favoured side. He was able, like, all of our players were able to kind of do what they wanted in that system. Because only Declan Rice kind of stuck where he was. Sometimes you'd see Bellingham move a bit further deep, and sometimes you'd see Mount go further forward. But generally speaking, it was a 4-3-3 with inverted wingers. Like, Saka was very, very narrow early on, and we allowed Shaw. We wanted Shaw and Trippier to go up there and be that width because the centre of the pitch was so strong. It's tough not to get a little bit excited about what we saw today. You just wonder if Southgate will stick with it.
Yeah,
it's the hope that kills you, mate. That's what I say about Spurs. It's exactly the same with England. But, like, obviously, HG just mentioned Saka, Jack. He scores the second. I was talking to friends this morning. I'm like, I don't rate Saka. I don't think he's great. I still don't particularly rate him. Obviously, he's an Arsenal player, but I don't think he's as great as they all make out. But he took his goal really well today. He's good, but I don't think he's as good as they make out. I'd rather see Foden out there myself, or someone else. And it's probably because he's Arsenal as well. But great goal for him, wasn't it, the second?
I mean, Foden, you can make an argument for him should be starting, but Saka's a good player. And the only thing I'll say, he took his goal well. And the only thing that frustrates me is exactly what he wants to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you've done any scouting, you know exactly where he wants to think, he can bait you right and come back on his left and put it in. And he gave him the whole goal to shoot. And that's when you look at the competition, you don't want to get too excited because you shouldn't be getting that easy a look. But yes, I think he's a good player. And in that system, he clearly looked good. And, I think actually all three, I mean, Kane had movement to drop a little deeper, send some balls through. And I thought it really, really worked well. I mean, I really hope that that's not the system on Friday.
I mean, I think he'll stick with them now. I think Saka will start. I think he likes Saka, and I think his performance today will more or less nail him on to start against the States, HG. But, like, the third goal obviously was scored by your man, Sterling. Excellent finish, I thought, to be fair to him, mate. But, Kane picked him out, didn't he? I don't think Kane did a lot today, but he showed 3 or 4 touches. And for me, it's just like, if you get him involved, that's what he does. Like today, he did it. It's like as if it was a training game for him at times, just the bits he was doing. Just kept running out of position. But when he gets in good positions and he's got players around him, he's spot on. And like that, he just let the defender sort of push him into an area so he could whip a ball in, didn't he? And then I thought it was a decent finish by Sterling.
2 things. 1, Kane was our worst player the first half hour.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Barely touched the ball, wasn't involved at all. It felt like we were playing with, maybe even 9 men, because I didn't think Sterling was great for the first half hour either. But the rest of the side actually, trying to move the ball around. I thought we did that really.
Yeah.
The recycling of the ball was really good.
Yeah.
Sterling, one-touch finish.
Yeah.
It's not your tap in that you might see, after from 2 yards. But again, all he has to do is get his foot on the ball and divert it goalwards, which I would hope a professional player can do. So, yes, I give him credit, but to me, the credit goes from Kane for putting the ball in. Right? He's got one person in the box. It's Sterling. Sterling makes the run. He's good at those runs. There's no doubt about it. But I just feel that, the weird thing is, if Southgate decides, you know what, at some point I'm going to go 3 at the back, right? Because at some point in this tournament, I need to do that. Saka is the one that will lose out. He will play Kane and Sterling over Saka, and I rate Saka. I understand that he has one trick and he does it really well, but there's a footballer there. He's not just he's not just Arjen Robben, a speed merchant who has the one trick. I think he's a bit more than that. He wants to help out defensively. He's a very good player, and for that role on that side, he's probably the best one we have. The only one who has a left foot and can cut in. Because Maddison could probably play out there and Foden can probably do it, but they're different types of players. Foden is the type of player you might, if you played that system against a team that has possession, then you might say, okay, I'll have Foden instead of Saka. But today it really worked.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see an England team where it worked. And if it felt like we knew what we wanted to do, how we were going to do it. And after the Nations League debacle, where it looked like we couldn't score for toffee, and it was penalty and 1 goal in 3 games or whatever it was, for us to go out and score 6, no one expected that. Nobody did.
What were your thoughts, Jack, on Kane's performance? Because I thought, like HG said, I thought he was quite. I bet, if you were rating him, I'd give him a 7, because he had a solid performance and contributed to goals and stuff, but he never really looked like he got out of second gear. And what I found really hard, there were times when we were breaking and we were getting the rub of the green, and our players were running forward with the ball and trying to make things happen. But I felt he was getting into. We had the ball, but he wasn't where I'd expect him to be in a game like that. I'd have thought, let these other lads get on the ball, let them and get in that box, and let's start getting them balls across the ball like he put across for Sterling. Let's get some of them into you, but it just seemed to sort of drift around, and he got that whack on his ankle, and I was sort of thinking, look, get him off, because really we're not creating anything for him. We don't need him to really create loads in this game, because we're doing that. The other players are stepping up and doing that. Just thought, get him off now, give him a rest, hopefully get him ready for the later games where he's not as knackered. What did you think to his performance?
Well, I mean, he had good moments, and you're right, HE. In the first 30 minutes, I can now think back to several passes that were just overhit, errant, to no one, short passes, over, just a lot of those sorts of things. But when he came through with a couple of nice moments, and you could see it. And there was one, it might even been the second half. There was a back to goal midfield, and he just flicks it over with perfect weight and perfect. It was a thing of beauty. And
Sterling, that was 2, wasn't it?
Yeah. And I think that's what he gives you. Certain players don't need to be great all the time. But they can step up and be that player when you need them to be. And that's definitely Kane. And not getting out of second gear is perfect for him. That's exactly what we want, is not have to work too hard. And today's a nice day for him to have a day at the office. I did get a whack on the ankle, and that's when I started panicking a little bit, but he seemed to be fine after it. And so I'm sure he'll be fine the rest of the tournament. Let's just hope, except for
really, HG, in my opinion, he should have had a decent effort at a goal, because I think we should have had a penalty. When you look at the VAR decision that Iran got at the end of the game, which fair enough might well be a penalty. Well, if that's a penalty, mate, the Maguire one is a penalty.
Of course,
And what winds me up even more is they didn't even go and look at Maguire's. And this is what pisses me off about stuff like VAR. If you're going to do it, fine. It ain't going away. But the consistency levels, and I thought this might be better, but.
To be fair, I think they did look at it. It's just they don't have the same system that we have. They don't show you that they're looking at it right now. It's like this automated VAR. So I think that Iranians wanted to kick off, and the ref told them to stop because it was being checked.
Yeah,
and then they kicked off again after the Maguire one. it sounds weird. Like when you see players grappling, right?
Yeah.
Then I think for a lot of referees, they'll be like, it's 50-50. Even though one has got his arms around him, if the other one's trying to barge a little bit, you can be like, it's 50-50. Whereas a shirt pull, you can't.
Mate, I get where you're coming from.
I agree that probably both were penalties.
Yeah.
I just think that if you're a referee, it sounds awful, but those things will come into it, right?
But they made the ref go and look at the screen for the Iranian penalty, didn't they? Yeah. But they never told him to go and look at the screen for the Maguire one. Now, if you're a referee and you look at that and you're stood at that monitor like they do, like that, looking at it, and you're looking at that and going, "No, I don't think that's a penalty."
But we all know
going on?
We all know that when a referee is sent to look at it himself,
he's going to give it
because he's made a massive rick, and they want him to do it. They want him to change it. It's a facade by that point. It's just a farce.
Yeah.
Because they don't, then the referee's like, okay, like I get our perspective, and at that point in the game, we hadn't scored yet. We needed a goal. You want an early goal, but I just, when it's like, it sounds awful. When you're 6-1 down, they'll give it, right? And when it's 0-0, they probably won't. And that's just
it's the consistency, mate. Yeah.
The thing is, but even if they didn't have VAR, a referee in that position will think, well, consistency at 0-0, it matters, so I won't. And at 6-1, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't matter where the referee is sitting, and that shouldn't matter. Like, it should just be a case of this is what I'm basing it on done.
Yeah.
But now you've got other people involved. It just means other people are making that decision.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like a bugbear of mine. It just winds me up. But like second half, Jack, England, he started off. I felt England started off a little bit sloppy. We were just trying to sort of be clever and keep hold of the ball, and they had a few little sniffs. But then Saka gets his second goal, cuts in a little bit of a deflection. Game over then, wasn't it? Definitely game over. I mean, I don't think they were coming back.
It was already game
4-0.
It was game over before halftime. I mean, I saw no way Iran's getting back into that match, but at that point it just becomes, okay, how many subs can we get on, and how many people can get a chance to get a goal, because that's what it becomes. I mean, it was funny because I had just read before the game there was some sort of quote from Graham Souness about he just didn't understand where the goals were going to come from other than Harry Kane, and he scores 6 and he doesn't get a goal. So I just love that sort of symmetry. It's just wonderful. But no, I mean, it was again, guys who were just, and the nice thing is everyone was really, really giving maximum effort because it's a World Cup game. They're finally playing a World Cup game, and some of them their first opportunities, and they want to score, and that's great. And that's what you want to see, as opposed to
absolutely
kind of manage a game out. I mean, I thought that was great. I really, really enjoyed it.
I mean, I like I'm always saying about playing football on the front foot. I say about Spurs doing it. And I struggle, even though like early in the season when the performances were turgid and we were winning, I struggle with that. And I would rather England go out in the quarterfinals playing front foot football than lose in the final, stinking the joint out 1-0 and stuff like that. Because you get the same result, you win fuck all. You still win nothing. But I'd rather see some decent football.
So which would be better? Beautiful front foot football going out in the quarters, or just dodgy, terrible football, winning a 1-0 or penalty kicks to win the whole thing.
In the final.
Yeah,
but that's winning the whole thing, isn't it? Yeah.
That's the part that Gibbo avoided, because we know the answer.
I'm bring it up.
I'm basing it on past experience. But so HG, I mean, Iran did manage to score a goal. Thought it was a decent goal, to be fair. I know they got round the back of Maguire, but I thought he got on it. Great finish from a player they were talking about before. And to be fair, he did look decent. When he got in, he didn't have a lot to do, but he got in that position, he scored it. And I thought that was a really good goal.
Yeah, I mean, he plays Champions League football for Porto.
Yeah.
He's a good player. I was surprised that Asmoon didn't play with him. Because they've got two quality players that play at Champions League sides, and you only start one of them.
Who does the other guy play for, HG?
Leverkusen.
Well,
he's a midfielder, right?
He wasn't fit, was he? They didn't think he was fully fit.
Oh, that to be fair, that I don't know. I mean, I do know that he's been injured in the run up to the World Cup, but you just think, I don't know, like England can rest a few players who might start because we expect to go a bit further in the tournament, maybe.
Yeah.
If you're Iran, it would have been a massive shock. So unless he's literally on one leg, I don't know. It seemed weird to me, but again, I don't know how they usually play. I felt like they looked a little bit like Gibraltar, and that's not. It just felt
they
like
were
a
anti-football,
mismatch.
weren't they? They just
I mean,
like the fouls in the free, everything about them. Like you said, it was just shit.
They were doing what they had to do to win the game in the way that they could, right? I mean, like if I was playing against England, I'd be doing that.
Yep.
I'd be standing on my 18-yard box and hoping to block shots, get in the way of crosses and all the rest of it. I don't blame them, but I think the exciting part is not that only that England scored a few goals and played decent football, but when the subs came on, like they looked pretty good. I mean, granted, again, it's Iran and they were disheartened and all that, but I never expected to see the goal that Grealish got. Wilson goes down the reed. He's faster than I thought. You think he's going to shoot, and he plays it simply across. Yeah. And again, like at 5-1, no one would have blamed him for going for goal.
No,
right?
No.
But he decides to pass. And so, like, we saw a comment earlier from Kerry about how the England team looks like an actual team and they're together.
Yeah.
You saw it there. Callum Wilson, if he wants to be part of the squad, if any player wants to be part of the squad, the team is number one.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we saw that today.
That is one thing, even though sometimes I've watched England play, they've been crap. One thing I've always said about Southgate is I don't particularly rate him as a coach and manager. But one thing I will say about Southgate is, like, in Russia and in the Euros, he's brilliant at pulling that squad together. And in Russia, we got the fans behind us. And I think, I wasn't excited about watching England today. I didn't really. I had the time off work because, like, the guy who I work for sort of didn't want to sit work, so I sort of had to come home and watch it. But sort of like after today, watching that, I know we smashed them, but then you see the players and everything. I've sort of got a little bit more. I'm sort of thinking now, don't drag me in, and then boom, we're going to win it. Type thing.
Friday night's a big game.
Yeah,
so Friday night, like prime time. The Americans are off work because it's their Thanksgiving weekend. It's a huge game.
Yeah. So I'm buzzing for it now. So like after I was an hour or so after, I went and picked some shopping up, and I said to my missus, maybe Friday we should have some friends round or go around something. She's like, oh, that's it now. They have a big win. You're up for it. But I mean, obviously, Jack, what we'll do is now Rashford scored a decent goal. Like HG's touched on Grealish's goal. Good finish. Kane went off, gets his rest, what we did. So now, obviously, Friday we've got the US. And how are you feeling about that game at the moment?
Well, I mean, I saw someone asked if I think we're still going to get out of the group, and until HG earlier in the show talked about how the Wales-England game could just be, let's just kick the ball back and forth to each other for 90 minutes. I hadn't actually gone through the process to realize that that's a very real outcome. I mean, the unfortunate thing of not winning that game, obviously, is that they have to get a result against England. I mean, they have to. They can't go in the last game on 1 point. I recognize that, and that is unfortunate. But the team, there's enough quality in the squad that if they get a couple breaks and England isn't completely clinical, they can get a result. It is possible. I don't expect a win, but I guess a draw sets you up for a goal differential getting through, maybe because it's the Wales-Iran score versus US-Iran score. And even then, if Iran's already out of the tournament, that's a little scary because what do they have to make their tournament? Beating the US. And so if they're going to get up for a game, it's going to be that one. And they're going to be nasty and they're going to be aggressive and they're going to be looking to take people out. Not, I mean, like viciously, but just they're going to be on top of them. And so I didn't actually think they were going to get out coming into the tournament. So if they don't get out, then that's fine, even though we all admit that they have enough ability, enough players to get through this group. They should be expecting to get out, of course. But I'm actually one of the type that says, you know what? I believe the U.S. is in a position, I know it's getting way ahead, but when we're hosting next time around, I think this is a team that could absolutely get to the semis. Because this same group you're seeing will be 4 years older for the most part with some additions. You have
behind them.
Our best player didn't see the field today, and that's Gio Reyna. I mean, he's by far our Jude Bellingham, in my opinion. He is so much better than everyone else on the squad, and I hope he gets in the game on Friday. But we got to get a result. Have to get a draw, otherwise I think they go home.
The beauty of it is, HG, isn't it? I think Wales and Iran is an early kickoff, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I can see that being a draw. I don't think Iran are a very good team, but I don't think Wales have like what we're like going forward. And I think like that guy up top, I said that, and if they play the other guy they brought on, Iran, they could cause Wales some problems. So if that, obviously we'll, coming into the USA game, we'll know what we've got to do, won't we? How do you see that going on Friday?
I think if Wales looked at today's game for England and will think we'll have to go forward at the back. They don't need a 3-man defence, right? And that means that Wales's strength is probably in attacking areas. Right? We know that Bale is quality. We know that Ramsey is a very good player. They may be old, but they're not stupid. Kiefer Moore is the target man that they need. So if you can get a 4-2-3-1 with your two defensive midfielders, whether it's Ampadu and Morrell or whoever, like if they figure that out, then they should be good enough to win the game. I think they'll find the chances. But as you saw today, the only goal they got was because the American had a brain fart. Like they didn't create that many chances. They were much better in the second half, but they didn't create too much. And so you do worry, but I think that for Wales, they have to go out there thinking not only are we going to win, like if Jack is right about what he's talking about, the goal difference, they will know that a 1-0 win may not be enough, right? Because then the Americans will know what they need to do in the last round of matches. They've got to go out there and win by 2 or 3 to really give them a very good chance goal difference wise. So that will be a fun game. None of us will be able to watch it because it's stupid hours. But
10 o'clock in the morning.
10 o'clock for you, that's crazy. Like
I'm getting up to watch Argentina at 5 a.m. here locally because I've got to go
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately I can't cancel lessons. I wish I could, but kids, go home, go and watch Messi.
I want to watch this. Yeah.
Well, I thought wouldn't you just wheel a TV in and put the game on?
So look, I'm not going to say publicly what I could do. There are ways, but no, like it's like I understand why they're doing them at that time. They have to get all these games in a much shorter turnaround because like. Usually the World Cup would start on a Friday night. This time it started on a Sunday night, and just those 2 days.
Yeah.
Like you lose 8 games because they could have had 4 games on Saturday, 4 games on Sunday, and it would have been fine. So they're obviously stretching things a little. I think we've got 5 like weekdays that have a 10 o'clock kickoff at English time. Thankfully, most of those games aren't great. So for I'm annoyed I'm missing Messi, but Messi against Saudi Arabia, I'm not so fussed about. But the Wales-Iran game will be a big game and important. But maybe only important to the English and to the Americans, not important to anybody else.
Correct.
I think we're good enough to beat the States, but I think on Friday night, I think we'll draw with them. I think we'll beat Wales in the last game. I'd love to think that we're going to win both games, but I think 2 draws would probably. Do you think 2 draws would probably see us through, HG?
Yeah,
no,
I'm just going to clip what you said about how we're going to beat Wales and just share that because that ain't going to be easy. That's not going to be easy at all. Like, I want to win. Like, I mean, neither game will be easy.
Yeah,
but I would much rather win Friday. Sorry, wife. I'd much rather win Friday.
And
just have that taken care of because, like the Welsh, they'll have some chance, right? The Welsh won't be out of it. It won't be a dead rubber for them. So 2 draws for us, yes, that would be enough to get us through.
I'm not saying, I don't want to play for 2 draws. I don't want to, but it's like, Jack, for me, when we do come to play Wales, it's like, if we are through, if we beat you and we're through, like, you can bring Foden, Grealish. We've got players who we can bring into that game and hopefully beat Wales to make sure you go through. So, mate, don't, if we beat you, we'll beat Wales as well, hopefully, even if we put out
there won't be
players.
Certainly from our side. I mean, it's one of those things like the English will be like, oh yeah, we'll help you through, you poor downtrodden neighbours who need us so much for everything. But that's awful. That would hurt the Welsh more than going out. The fact that they only went through because the English allowed it would be worse for them. So what I want more than anything is that there are games that both games will matter, and you won't know. And so if that means that the England America's a draw and Wales beat Iran, so then it really is all up in the air. Great. because that's probably the best solution.
I think that's the best solution for Britain as a whole. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think Friday night's game against the USA is going to be a good game. I hope, like HG said, it is a bit like the Leeds game. I hope we don't keep going behind, but I hope it is end to end, and I think it probably will be, because, like you said, you're better in attack, and our defence is our weakest point. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to another good game.
I will say this: if the Americans win Friday night, that will do more for the sport of soccer in America than anything else. Like, they've improved so much in the last 20, 30 years since they first qualified for the World Cup with Miolo and all the rest of them. But if they were to do that, like, again, even it's Friday night for us, but it's middle of the afternoon for America. Like, they will be at work, but because it's the Thanksgiving weekend,
right,
they're all at home.
Yeah.
Any other
it's
day,
big number here.
And no one would have cared. It's the whole Thanksgiving business, all of that, and they're anti-England. It's just set up perfectly. And I know FIFA always go on about wanting to spread the game and all the rest of it. And America got the '94 World Cup, and Qatar obviously got it this time. For those, like, that will do more for spreading the game of football than anything else if the Americans somehow win on Friday. And, like, I don't want that, but I kind of do want that. It would be interesting.
Oh, no.
I want England
just up to the line. You could have just pulled it right back, but no, you had to go right over the line.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm married to an American who doesn't care about football. But, like, it's none of her family care about football. So really, I could be like, in your face, suckers, and they still wouldn't care. But Jack's right. That American side is young. It's the youngest team in the tournament. And they have a very good chance to do something good, because 4 years' time. If you think about half that team 4 years ago were teenagers, first year of high school.
Yeah.
And here they are, 19, 20 years old, playing on the biggest stage in the world and doing really well. I'm hopeful that football wins. At the end of the day, football wins. That's all I really want.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good.
So, right then, Jack.
Yeah.
Let's have a score prediction for Friday, mate.
All right, 2-1 US.
Good man. HG, what are you going for?
I think it's going to be a draw, but I think it's going to be high scoring, so 2-2.
Oh, mate, I was going for a Desmond. I think I'm going to go now. If you're doing that, I'm going to go 3-2 England then. Can't go for the same. Right. Can't all have the same. So, yeah.
Look, that Spurs Leeds thing. It really does. It feels a lot like that.
Yeah. Well, Leeds had a couple of. They had Adams and Aronson, didn't they? So, England could have Dyer and Kane. So,
before we finish, there's one more thing I want to say. I would swap the American fullback Robinson for Sessegnon
all day long.
All day long.
Yes.
Robinson is a quality fullback.
Yes.
He really is good, and he reminds me of Asu Ekoto, which may not be a good thing for a lot of people. But he can defend really well. He's good going forward. He knows when to make those runs. He's a quality player. I love Robinson. I really do.
Is he at Fulham? Is he at Fulham? Does he get in?
And if you didn't have Udogie coming, you'd be saying you got to go and you got to go get him.
Yeah.
Was he at Wigan early in his career?
Yeah.
Or was he on? Yeah. Can you remember?
Yeah.
Obviously an American all the way from Milton Keynes, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
exactly.
If you listen to him speak, you wouldn't know he's American. That's for sure.
No. What about Cameron Carter-Vickers? Where was he tonight?
On the bench.
Was he?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yedlin made an appearance. We had the Spurs going on, right?
Yeah, Yedlin, he made an appearance. I thought, anyway, today's football's been good. USA, Wales, decent game. England, Iran, far exceeded my expectations. And we had Holland, Senegal in the middle. But at least there was 2 goals. At least it wasn't a 2-0 stink fest. But, everyone who's been in the comments, not everybody who's come and watched tonight's show. We've got 45 people watching at the minute. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for your questions. Keep an eye on Twitter. We'll hopefully get we're going to have more shows. We're going to get Jack back on. We've had people from different countries come on the shows before. We're going to try and get a few more, but it's been a good chat tonight. It's gone on longer than I thought it would again. This seems to keep happening. But look, hit the subscribe. If you're a non-Spurs fan in the chat, just keep coming and watching, and check us out on the socials for when we do our shows, so you can follow the links. But good stuff. Anything to say before we go, Jack?
You know, I'm looking forward to Friday. I hope I'm back on the show for Friday. That would be in a good mood. Would be nice.
Yeah. Okay. And HG, thanks for coming on again, mate.
I am Team Messi. That's Team Messi tomorrow. I won't watch it, but I hope we see some great goals, because football, so much football. There are so many games tomorrow, and I can't even tell you who's playing. But I know it's C and D, so the French are playing at some point tomorrow.
Yeah, 4 tomorrow, isn't there? 4 games.
Yeah, 4 games.
4 games.
So
Danish are my dark horses.
Yeah, I'll see 3 of them. That's the plan. I should be able to see 3 of them and travel home between the games and make that happen. But the first one, even if I were to teach English phrases about football, it's not going to fly. It's not. No. Sorry, Kerry.
So anyway, just to obviously, thanks everyone. Like I said, subscribe, follow us on the socials. If you're a Spurs fan and you want to be involved, join in our Patreon group. I think, let me just put this little picture up quickly. There you go. Look, join the conversation. £3 a month. Sorry to cover your faces, lads, but and before we go, all I'll say is it's coming home. Anything to add to that, boys?
It's not coming home.
Don't worry. In the one pool bracket I picked, I went ahead and picked Argentina over England just for the hell of it.
Yeah, I fancy Argentina. Anyway, see you next time, boys. Bye.
Bye.